Welcome to The Last Diet Experience, a podcast dedicated to women and their relationship with food. I am your host, Lisette Lance, a food relationship coach, and I'm on a mission to inspire women to take back their power and confidence in their food choices and trust their gut more than anyone else's opinion, including mine. On today's episode, I have a friend that she was so kind of willing to share her stories and her struggles with her food relationship. So it's going to be a very conversational episode, but it's also, I think it's going to be very important to see how someone else has gotten through those mindset and mentality that have just kind of keep us in this loop of checking our weight, or if we have a belly, or if we're eating this, is this food good or bad, etc. Just, it just might impact you in a way that you have not ever thought of. And I think everyone can learn from everyone. So this is one of those episodes. Today, my guest is Viktoria Levenberg, not a productivity, but the productivity queen. Viktoria, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Lizette, and thank you everyone listening. My name is Victoria, and yeah, I am the Productivity Efficiency Organization Queen. I am also a board certified health and wellness coach, so a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about with Lizzie here today is really kind of deep in core to my heart. My journey with food, as many of us, has started from a really young age. And I'm a foodie, man. I love to eat. I'm really passionate about it. And yet it's also so interesting that it can be such an emotionally destructive relationship at times. And I actually didn't even mention this to you before we hit record, but I've also got a postgrad in nutrition. Like this is I'm a nerd when it comes to all these things. So it's like definitely a passion point of mine. I don't use it now with my clients because I've realized that a lot of the skills that I have around productivity and planning and organization is kind of what my busy, ambitious corporate professionals and entrepreneurs really need from me. But I'm excited for our chat today because I've never actually spoken about my struggles with food and kind of that part of my story so publicly yet. So this is a first.
I'm excited. I'm double excited now. So, okay. Well, first of all, I know you as a productivity queen. This is the woman that I would approach if I have this feeling that I have no time, which is very ironic because people think like I don't have time for someone to teach me how to make more time. And it's another story. But this is how I know this beautiful soul. I mean, and also this energy that just projects everywhere and not everyone can keep up with my energy, but I think Victoria is one of the few people that can.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're on a similar wavelength for
I
sure.
know. And so now that you're telling me, like I just recently found out that you're a health coach, like certified health coach and nutritional coach, you said?
So, well, I don't practice it anymore, but yeah, I have a postgrad in nutrition, and the legislation is different in different countries. So when I finished my postgrad, I was actually going to do a master's and a PhD, which I decided not to do because, look, as a type A high achiever who was pursuing the corporate ladder for so many years, which is how I burnt out and kind of how I got into starting my own business and diving into all the things health and wellness, I realized that the same pattern was playing out in academia. I was just climbing a different ladder. And so I decided to let that go. I was like, you know what? Not everything needs to have a box ticked next to it. It's okay to let something just be a passion point. But yes, like if someone is struggling with nutrition and health and habits, like a lot of the stuff that you help people with, that's my origin of my business. That's how I started. And then through working with people and kind of figuring out exactly the type of person I want to help, it evolved from there.
So what landed you in that world? Like, was there a moment that you decided, or was it more like you have to pick something and that's what called you the most?
Are you
Did you
talking like
remember?
health and wellness
Health and
specifically?
wellness, yeah.
That has always been like a soul calling. And hear me out when I say this. So like the productivity thing like just emerged recently. And it's really sort of a matter of, give the people what they want and then kind of once they're in, give them what they need.
What they
Like
need,
my
yeah.
big life vision is still very much, okay, let me take a step back. When I say productivity, I don't mean what you read in the traditional productivity books. So this is what I'm still like figuring out how to communicate most effectively, because the way I do productivity, efficiency, and planning is with health and wellness integrated in it. This is why it's different. It's not your hustle harder, bro, just achieve more, and here's the Pomodoro technique or whatever. Like, no, I don't actually teach any of that. I really go body, energy, mind, and spirit first. We work with the cycles of success, which are like the 4 rhythms that govern the universe, which most people don't even know. And it's so very like body aligned. And we really prioritize energy management as like the core epitome of what we do. So it's like, I would say it's how I entered this world. And it's actually what I'm blending through into everything that I do, because it is such a core purpose and dharma of mine. And like my big goal, my big vision is to facilitate retreats. And I was actually speaking to one of my clients about this the other day as I was like building out my ascension model of my business. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Like we've got the digital products and the coaching and the things. And then like imagine this group of ambitious, high achieving women come together for a retreat where you get to do the yoga and the massages and eat and like detox your body and have all the amazing food. And you get to plan and map out your dream year and like bring those visions and goals that you have to reality. It's like, I don't know, like for
Yeah.
me as a type A achiever, that's like the kind of retreat I want to go on.
Yeah, that sounds creamy, juicy, delicious. Yes, of course it has to be related to food. I don't even do it on purpose. Yeah.
I love it. I was like, ooh, I could really taste it. Creamy, juicy, delicious. Like, what dessert is that?
The dessert of success.
Yeah, love it.
So, okay. Well, I understand that. Okay, you mentioned something that I am not really sure if I am familiar with, which is the 4 rhythms of the of the universe. Okay, tell me about
Okay.
that.
Yes. All right. Buckle up, Buttercup. So, your audience is mostly women, right? And even if you're a male or you don't identify as any gender as you are listening, just hear me out when I say this applies to you. So there are 4 cycles in the universe that govern everything in life. You can see it in nature, you can see it in the weather patterns, you can see it in the seasons, and as a cycling female, you can also see it in your body. And so I'm going to keep it super simple and super high level, and let's just talk seasons, right? Because that's what everyone understands. And you've got winter, right? And then spring, summer, and fall or autumn, depending on how you want to call it, wherever you are
Yeah.
in the world. The thing is that in the traditional productivity paradigm, and unfortunately in like the hustle culture that most of us are a part of, we only glorify the spring and summer energies when it comes to our workload management. So it's sort of the initiation, let's plan something exciting, let's brainstorm this new idea. That's kind of your spring energy. And then when we think about like the summer energy, that's like the push, the visibility, kind of what we're doing here on this podcast. You're in your launch season, or maybe you're doing the big presentation. It's sort of, this is the hustle, kind of the high energy part of the cycle, often more associated with the more masculine dominated energies, more of the yang. Unfortunately, what this system is missing, and this is what I teach differently in my nonlinear productivity approach, is the other half of the equation, which is your autumn and your winter type energies. So if you think about like what happens out in nature when it's autumn, like think of the little squirrel that gathers all the things and and ticks the boxes and dots the T's or dots the I's, crosses the T's, gathers everything, does her little admin, prepares for hibernation. And then what do you do in winter? the days are cold and long and things slow down and there's this fertile void. And like my mentor, this isn't even her core body of work. Her name's Kate Northrup. She's like the money queen. I learned a lot of this from her back when she was in her kind of work healing era. And she's really the only person out there that I have heard speak about this. And I kind of took it a whole level deeper and realized, whoa, like if you actually integrate this into all of your systems and know how to strategically schedule and prioritize certain things in certain areas of your unique energy rhythm, because we all have a unique rhythm, whether you are male, female, non-binary, like they're influenced through your body. If you're cycling, the cycle plays a big role. There's moon influences, there's seasonal influences. Like it's an onion that we could peel layers and layers from. And once you master how to weave this into your planning and organizational systems, like your success is not just inevitable, it accelerates and skyrockets exponentially. Like the math just maths.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You just brought a bunch of puzzle pieces together that I've heard separate, but yeah, it makes sense because we are living in this culture that definitely rewards summer, spring, and has this negative connotation on this, the rest. Like a lot of, when I tell people the rest is part of the process, the rest is part of your productivity, it takes a while to connect.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you now you get me
I'll
spinning.
add one more thing to that as well, because like whenever you say that, especially to a type A achiever, they're like, oh, whatever, rest. Like, don't you see all the things I have to do? So hear me out when I say this. So there is a specific point in your energy rhythm. Again, I don't know that, like we can only figure that out through working together, but there's a specific time where literally honoring that winter energy. And when I say rest, it doesn't mean just like numb out on the couch and do nothing. Like there's other things you can do that are more strategic and actually wiser to do in that specific cycle. For example, like I'm going to just use myself as the test bunny here. You actually witnessed this. I had like a mind-blowing breakthrough coaching experience last week that kind of flipped my entire world on its head. And I was also approaching the winter energy of my cycle. And it was like perfect timing because like rather than sprint and go gung-ho and take action, I was just able to reflect. I was able to let the information permeate, to ideate, to kind of be in that fertile void, which for many of us is really uncomfortable to just be with the question and not immediately come up with the answer. But hear me when I say that the better you honor that energy trough and actually give your body, mind, spirit, and your workload what it needs, the higher the acceleration when you enter the energy peaks. Because what actually happens if you're constantly trying to operate at the energy peak, it's the law of diminishing returns because you're not actually recuperating fully. So you don't bounce higher than you originally were. You actually end up lower. And that's unfortunately the dangerous slippery slope to Burnoutville, which I've been there. It ain't pretty. I don't recommend it.
Never. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because this is what happens to me. Like when I am pushing myself to come up with ideas, copy, content, and all of that, when I catch myself pushing myself, because it's not always conscious, that's when I know that I need to stop. Like really go lay on a hammock and just do nothing. And it may seem like giving up. It may seem like I'm being lazy. It may seem like I'm capping out. But it is in those moments where I go lay in my hammock or go in my garden and just dilly-daddle with my plants and, I don't know, just watch my chickens do funny things because they're hilarious. That's when the ideas come in, and they come in a flow of one after the other.
That's it.
And as soon as I discovered that, it became from being lazy being perceived as lazy, myself
Mm-hmm.
as lazy,
Mm-hmm.
to being very productive.
Yes.
It's so ironic.
Yeah.
And I think the type of mentality that a lot of us women that fall into the diet culture have, because we have this idea of like, I'm either being successful, or
Yeah.
I fell off the wagon, I
Mm-hmm.
cheated, I am being bad, I now feel guilty, ashamed, it's
Mm-hmm.
disgusted. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's one thing that I really, 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 really want to bring across, that there's a gray area. There's a
Yeah.
gray area between this black and white. And we usually live in here. And I was telling you the other day about that pendulum. We are always
Mm-hmm.
really, the optimal idea would be to aim for balance. But balance is wrongly perceived as a state where you get to and you arrived in Yahoo. And if you fall out of it, then you're bad again, and then you are not you're not succeeding, and you fell off the wagon and whatever, and anything negative. But the truth is that balance is not, it's not a stable, it's not a state that you just land and you stay there.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is to land on it more often.
Yeah, exactly. And whether it's with food, whether it's with productivity, whether it's with your body, like again, like this is why I'm saying like this is such a core universal truth. It is evident anywhere, and it's sort of almost the like the analogy of the pendulum swing. It's basically a cycle. It's just the rhythms keep on moving, and it is evident in all of life. And I think, to sort of share and bring it back into food and sort of the area that, you specialize with your clients in, there's actually a way that you can use the cycles of success with your food as well. And that's actually played a really huge role in my food healing. And we'll probably get into that in a little bit, after I probably share how bad it was to begin with. But yeah, I'm actually really, really stoked and excited to weave that into our conversation as well.
Mhm. Well, why don't we just do that now? I mean, now you spiked the
Mhm.
curiosity.
Okay. Well, do you want me to start with like where my food relationship started first? Yeah, okay. Um, okay.
Yeah.
So I grew up, like many others, in the era of, the grand millennium, sort of the transition from the 1900s into the 2000s. And that's when you had like Shakira and Britney on MTV doing their belly dancing, and everyone was getting fat shamed for having an inch of flabber. And, like, remember the headlines and like the magazines and all the things that you would say. It's like, oh my God, she put on 1 kilo. How dare she? And so I think it's important to lay the context that like the environment around that time was already pretty unhealthy. And unfortunately, I grew up in a household where I was getting really mixed messages. So on one side of the family, I was being told that I was too skinny. Like I was just like a normal kid. I would say I was like a normal, healthy kid. But like my grandmother literally used to try and force feed me because, like, for context, I come from a background of like, Soviet Union, like Ukraine, Russia, Poland, and my grandfather on my father's side is Jewish, so he kind of grew up during World War II where it was famine and a lot of horrible things happening to him and his family. So for them, like having food was such a privilege coming out of the Soviet Union where like all you could get was bread. And that if you're lucky. And so to them, being a little bit more plump was a sign of health. It was a sign of wealth. It was a sign of well-being. And because I was like a normal sized kid, they were trying to force feed me. So here's this like the core memory I will never forget. My cousin, on the other hand, was a little bit bigger, and so they were trying to make him be skinnier. So they would give me two sausages and put two sausages on my plate, and they would give my cousin one sausage because I was too little, he was too big. And when they weren't looking, I would just slide the sausage over to his plate,
Oh my
and we
God.
had a mutually beneficial agreement. I've never told this story publicly, I don't think, but anyways, like that's just a
Just
bit of
us. It's
context.
just us. Nobody's
It's
gonna
just
know.
us girls. Exactly. And so that was one side of the family. Now on the other side of the family, I was always told that I was too big, and so I had to be skinnier, and I was nuts. And so it was like really confusing. And my mom had a lot of yo-yo diet stuff going on. Like she would often put on weight when she got really stressed, and then she would like starve herself, and I was observing that, and that was kind of normal for me, you know? So that's sort of what I grew up with. It was this being told that I was too fat, too skinny, try this diet. And I, from a nutritional quality perspective, unfortunately, didn't grow up with really quality food. Like, my long story short, my parents broke up. So they got divorced when I was 8, and my mom and I moved to Germany. At the time, she was really busy. She was working a lot. So I was, to be honest, like home with nannies for a few years, but then like I actually grew up really quickly. I was living alone from about the age of 12. Now, like she would be home on weekends and stuff, and she'd make sure I'm set up, etc. But like I was a little grown up, and so as part of that, I had to have food. And as a little kid who doesn't know how to cook for their life, you know, my diet consisted of frozen meals like pizza, Nutella sandwiches, yogurts, like it was all processed food because that's all I kind of knew how to make. And my mom isn't a passionate chef, let's put it that way. So it doesn't take long to realize that that compounded into a really unhealthy relationship with food. Um, as a result, I was constantly trying to figure this out on my own. And then, as a being a type A achiever, I all of a sudden got into like my health fad and started researching things myself. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get healthy. And like, I actually like learned about nutrition even like as a teenager. And I was like, oh, okay, so I need to hydrate and drink lots of water, and I need to make sure I've got fruit and vegetables. And I would start to like pack my little lunch boxes and take everything to school with me. But the problem was because of this yo-yo diet culture and this too skinny, too big mentality, I would like hyper fixate and like weigh myself every day and put every calorie into MyFitnessPal and have this perfectly curated meal plan. And then I would get overwhelmed and over it. And then I would just say, oh, whatever, stuff this. And then I would overeat and gain all the weight back, and if not more. And that kept going for a really, really long time. Yeah. So that's kind of the origin story from a young childhood
Mhm.
age. Um,
Wait, I just have a question. When you said were you by yourself at home for like days?
yeah, like we lived
Yeah.
near school. I was a little
Okay.
grown up. Yeah.
Yeah, you were. You were.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I know.
Proceed.
Same. Yep. Yep. Like, and look, I'm working with my therapist on it, but between the ages of 8 and 18, there's a big gap of
Mm,
childhood that just went missing,
mm.
which also
Yeah,
kind
makes
of
sense.
translated to a lot of my overachiever, perfectionist type A vibes. Um, so, yeah, that was kind of my upbringing, childhood. Then I grew up and went to uni, stress, workload, you know, sort of the university lifestyle, and kind of again continued to struggle with this yo-yo diet situation. I was always still within a healthy BMI, don't get me wrong, but it was really always really extreme. And it's actually more the self-loathing,
Mm-hmm.
like when I would overeat, or when I would look at myself in the mirror and just like, you know, I always had this dream of having a six pack. I in my 30s, I still don't have a freaking six pack, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's just not gonna happen. That's okay. We all have different bodies. But
It,
I used to be so mean to myself. And that was then punishment. Like it was starving myself for punishment or then overeating as like a self-loathing, soothing
mm,
mechanism in a way. And what finally caused this to change was in my mid 20s, I started running marathons. And
mm.
there's one thing they don't tell you about running marathons, which is you can eat as much as you want and you don't
Hmm.
put on any weight.
And you eat the carbs, right? Like the evil
Oh,
carbs.
I
And I eat it
loved it.
with
Yeah, because I was running, five times a week at least, and I was burning so many calories that I just had to eat a lot. It was amazing. I loved it so much. Didn't solve the problem, but I think it's when I kind of started to realize, okay, there's a different way to this, and that's kind of what got me onto this whole trajectory into health coaching and nutrition. And as I sort of reached burnout and all the things that was part of my healing era as well. It's like, okay, actually, like, how can I heal my relationship with food? Because I didn't know a lot of what I didn't know. I didn't realize that what I was doing by eating mindlessly, by eating even though I was full, by, just trying to be perfect with my meal plan, that those were all really unhealthy coping mechanisms. And as soon as, again, you're aware, awareness is always the first step. I was able to slowly, sustainably start to change things. And people might not want to hear this, but this is the reality. It's like, it's not an overnight success. Like, it started with reframing my relationship with food, which is why I love what you do, because all of a sudden I stopped counting calories and I realized that it's actually just not all foods are created equal. And
mm,
so I shifted my focus from calories and food quantities to food quality and nutrient density, which is
yeah.
where I was like, oh, hang on. Like if it was, if like I can eat as many grapes as I want, it doesn't matter. And then like I would get full on these like really nutrient dense, delicious foods.
Hmm.
And then I didn't have the cravings for the biscuits or whatever else it was. Right? Like that's exactly what
Yeah.
you're teaching. And that relationship then rippled out into everything else because then I was able to slow down and be more mindful with what I was eating. Like actually, rather than rushing through my meals, like really put love and care into them and like just sit and eat and enjoy it. I'm still a big foodie. I still love to eat, It's like, and I still struggle with overeating here and there, which is my signal that I'm stressed. Like, but at least
Hmm.
I know what's happening. And what really changed the whole thing for me, and like to bring this all home to these 4 cycles of success, this was actually quite recent, but this like just blew my mind. Is have you ever heard of Dr. Mindy Pelz?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Of
have,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
She wrote a book called Fast Like a Girl. I read that book in 3 days. It changed my entire life. Because I still to this day follow her kind of her methodology, which is to eat in alignment with your cycle. And again, it goes back to everything else I'm talking about, like living in alignment with your rhythms, the energy cycles. And so I now practice intermittent fasting during the first kind of half of my cycle. And then during the back half of my cycle, which I know is when my body needs more nutrition, more nutrients, it requires more energy to function. I just let
Mhm.
frickin' loose. And I kid you not, ever since I've implemented this methodology into my eating, not only have I become more conscious with what I eat, because when you fast, and you have a shorter time window for when you're eating, you
Yeah.
actually have to be much more choiceful in the quality of food that you put in your body. Because there's only so much you can eat without like, ugh, just breaking, you know? And
Yeah.
also it's like, well, I may as well get all the nutrients I need. So like, yes, of course I educated myself on all these things and I nerd out about it, but it was really, again, working with my energy rhythms, with my cycles that actually helped heal my relationship with food. And that's the story. That's
You
the story
know,
in a nutshell.
okay, so I have something that I want to share with you,
Uh-huh.
and I have a question from your story. So, one is I also read that book, and I also follow that cycling my fasting windows with my menstrual cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I learned, or that I one of the gifts that
Mm-hmm.
I received from fasting is what I call food freedom. And everyone has
Mm.
can have their own idea of what food freedom is, but
Yes.
I used to have this irrational fear that if I was out of the house and I did not have food exactly when I started to get hungry, something bad was going to happen. I would have this anxiety, a mild anxiety, but still this fear of something bad was going to happen if I did not have food at the moment that I was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to decipher what is it that what was the bad thing that was going to happen, and I just concluded it was completely irrational. I don't know because I can't figure it out. But I would pack myself massive lunches, delicious,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
massive to the point that I would eat even when I wasn't hungry, or I would eat beyond my level of being more than satisfied, like stuffed.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was this cleaning your plate, right? And when I started fasting, I realized that if I did not eat, even for days,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, I decided to go out, like go out to work and not to eat any food. I took
Mm-hmm.
water for sure, but I was not going to take any food and see what happened. After that day, God, that freedom of just being able, choosing not to eat
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't care to, or it was more convenient to me, not in
Mm-hmm.
an extreme way. It
Mm-hmm.
just didn't have to spend energy, mental energy, or physical energy on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just this big freedom that I really don't know how to explain, but it feels really good to be able to
Yeah.
do that.
And if it's okay, like I want to add a few
Mhm.
things to that as well, because there's like for anyone who's listening and is considering fasting, like just please do your research.
Oh
And
yeah.
there are specific times when, especially if you're female, where you should not be fasting because that's actually detrimental to your hormones and your body and your health, and it's going to cause more issues, like more harm than good. So like please do your research. And also listen to your body. So, like to your point, Liz, there's a specific time where you're like, oh my God, I feel so amazing. And the clarity that you have and like the
Mm.
energy that you get because your body starts going into autophagy and starting to generate, like, depending on how long you fast, maybe even
Mhm.
stem cells, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and again, it's a test and learning game. And in my experience, it's easier to build up tolerance rather than try and kind of rip off the band-aid and shock your body
Oh God,
completely.
absolutely. Yeah.
And when you spoke about fear and cleaning your plate, and I assume there's an element of throwing food out here as well. I just want to speak to this because it links to the story that I just shared as well, is that that fear for anyone listening who's like, oh my God, there's no way I could leave the house without a snack. Are you kidding me? Or like, I can't throw out food. I have to finish my plate. Yeah, I grew up that same way too. Remember grandfather, World War II? He would literally lick his plate clean. And
Mm.
that's what was modeled. And that's what I was always told. I was always told it was in Russian, but like this saying of, your last bite of food is where all your power lives.
Mm.
That's what was ingrained into my head. Can you imagine how messed up that is now, trying to reframe that? And so I just want to say that if you feel the fear, if you feel this conditioning, it's not just you. Like epigenetics proves that your parents, your grandparents, and your like 7 generations back, what they experienced. And it doesn't take a genius to look through the history books and see all the famine, the wars, and the terror that our ancestors have lived through. So like that fear is real, that fear of starvation, that fear of something going wrong when you don't have food nearby is real. It might not be rational, it might not be justified, but it is real. And as soon as you acknowledge that and you start to get curious around it and you work with it rather than shaming yourself or feeling guilty about yourself for acting that way, that's what helps you heal that relationship with food.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it's true. I mean, we all have the typical saying is like, there's children in this other country starving, and
Oh,
you're not finishing your food.
I got told that every single day. Think of the kids in Africa. I was like, I
I
am thinking of the kids in Africa. I'm full.
Yeah, exactly. And at some point, I don't even know where I connected that, but I'm like, okay, me eating this or not eating this is not going to change that kid's situation. What's the point? I was an
Well,
adult by then.
actually, you probably eating the amount that you should be eating is going to change that kid's situation rather than overconsumption and wasting
There
in
you go.
crops. And like we could get into a whole conversation around environment here, but yeah. And also like just to the other piece that just came up for me when you spoke about like the massive lunches you used to take and like you used to feel like
Hmm.
you had to finish it all. Girl, my lunchbox is still like massive. And I'm going to tell you something. That is because I love to have variety. I love to
Hmm.
have choice. And I love to assemble my meals at work. Like, again, like now I'm such a foodie. I love nutritional quality. Like, my taste profile and my taste buds have really changed. And people always make fun of me because I'll be there and like have this elaborate little like nutrition bowl. And they're there with their like sad little packet of chicken soup or whatever. And so there's nothing wrong with having variety. And if
Hmm.
anything, it's probably something I would recommend because the more you can put into your lunchbox that gives you options that are better
Hmm.
for you, that are healthier. Like I've got some dark chocolate in there. I've got some fruit. I've got some nuts. I've got some like edamame beans. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of random stuff in there. I'm not going to eat it all, but when I get the cravings, I have something to choose from rather than going into the office kitchen and having all the crap that everyone else is having. So that I just wanted to say that to anyone who's like, "Oh, now I need to have a tight lunchbox." Like, no, no, no. Bring your whole pantry to work.
Yeah, yeah. So when I say massive, I was like this, like the same. Let's say the chicken soup, but in a bigger quantity than my body
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely, I promote more of expanding your food options versus restricting your food options. And I have a whole, I guess, module on fasting, when, for who it is, for who it's not,
So good.
when to not, when to stop, because it is very important. A lot of people think like if I fast, I eat less calories and therefore I lose weight. But it doesn't necessarily work that way, especially when you're overstressed. Fasting is a stressor, and just adding more stress to the situation does not help. That's anyway. Yeah. So.
And on that note as well, like it's
Mhm.
so good. Like anyone listening, obviously you're in Lizzie's world. Hopefully you're in her programs as well. She's got the guidance on how to fast, what to do, etc. And like hear this from my experience. So like I'm a big detoxer. Again, I'm a health nerd. I love these things. So I do a little cleanse once a quarter because that's actually another thing that's helped me heal my relationship with food is doing like a little reset every season. First of all, to like signal to the body like, oh, we're changing seasons, let's amp up the rhythm. And it also, like, we get stuck in a rut, we revert to old habits, we get busy, life is lifing. And so having that little seasonal ritual almost acts as like a reawakening to like reconnect in my relationship with food. So I highly recommend that. But what I wanted to say about the fasting piece specifically that you just spoke to is your body might have a limit of fasting it can tolerate. So there's people I know, well, there's actually, to be honest, depending on like how woo we want to go here, there's actually people who live off of sunlight who don't even consume food. So
Oh,
like, which is amazing,
yeah.
like it blows my mind. I also know people who can go for weeks without eating and just survive on water and sunlight. And again, believe it or not, I know them, I can connect you with them. But you know, most commonly you'll see like most people probably fast up to maybe 3 days, some maybe go up to 5 days. The first time I ever tried fasting and a detox, as a typical type A high achiever, I tried to go all in. Don't recommend doing that. Because I went from never fasted before to I'm going to do a 48-hour fast. Um,
Okay.
and don't get me wrong, like I had a protocol, I had everything to set me up for success. So it's like I was pumping my body with nutrients in a lead up. It was all like in a group program, like it was all amazing. And and still to this day, this has been like now 3 years of regular fasting. My body will not go beyond 36 hours. I hit 36 hours and the level of detox symptoms that I feel is like the closest thing I can compare it to is like if you imagine a drug addict in rehab going through withdrawal.
Wow. Okay.
It is so intense. Like 24 hours, no problem. You know, maybe even up to 30 hours, no problem. But it's every single time I've tried to go like more, every single time I get to 36 hours and all of a sudden I completely start losing it. And I genuinely believe that there's an element again of epigenetics here because of my ancestry, because of the Jewish heritage, because of all the trauma that lives in the cells of my body that's not even mine, where my body goes into some sort of trauma response after a certain period of fasting. So this is what I just wanted to speak to as well as like listen to your body because I know people who aren't as much of a health nerd as I am and they can easily fast for 3 days. Me, I can't go beyond 36 hours. I'm like, okay, like now I know and we're good. I'm just going to start to taper little by little, but not force it.
Yeah, I think I see fasting as a healing
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
It, it sh- yes, you kind of have to, you know, okay, I see fasting as a healing experience versus something that you have to push yourself through. There
Exactly.
are comfortable moments because hunger is uncomfortable and
Mm-hmm.
it does come, but it's not something that gets worse. It's kind of like a bump, like it comes
Exactly.
and it goes away because you actually do eat from whatever reserves that you have as long as you are in a healthy body that has the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think this to your point, the listening to your body is a huge piece and a huge thing that I encourage my clients to go through first
Mm-hmm.
because you really do need to listen to what your body needs and what your body is telling you and when to stop because pushing yourself through something that is
Yeah.
hard doesn't mean that it's going to make you better.
No.
Uh,
And it's probably like your body sending you a signal that it's not the
right.
right thing to do either. Like that's which I love the way that you've put the fact that fasting is healing, it's not suffering. And like this is what I noticed in my personal experience is around that 36-hour mark, it transitions from healing to suffering, which is when I'm like, that's it. No, no more. Because
Right.
that's actually counterproductive. That's probably doing more harm than good. That's my body
Yes.
trying to tell me no more.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what you need to
And here's
you,
the
you really
wild
do need.
thing.
Hmm?
Like, here's the wild thing. I've done this a few times now, and like I have again, like I follow Dr. Peltz's like, eating protocol as well. So like how to break a fast. And so whenever because it's like fun. I'm a health nerd. I love experimenting on myself, right? So it's like every time I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I wonder if it's gonna happen again. And of course it does. And so at the 36-hour mark, then I'm like, okay, damn, it's happening. Let me and then I'll break my fast just with chicken bone broth. A cup of
Hmm.
chicken bone broth. And I kid you not, 200 milliliters. That's
Okay.
it. It's like tiny amount of broth,
Yeah.
and boom, I'm back. Instant. It's nuts. Like
Yeah.
your
No,
body is so smart.
absolutely, absolutely. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful experience if you let it be a beautiful experience. Um, yeah, no, the long I think my in my body, the easiest fasts are the 36 hours because I don't really have to think about it. That's one thing. And I know I can do it. The longest I've done is a 69-hour fast. And I think I was aiming for a 72, but I really screwed up when I started it. That the 72-hour was gonna end at, it was gonna fall at like, I don't know, 2 a.m. in the morning, something ridiculous like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I chose to end it up at 69 hours. One, because the reason why I was going on that long fast had already happened, which was some pain that I had on my wrist was eliminated. And then the other reason, which was the most important reason for me, is that I got to have dinner with my husband. And so I think it's a matter of listening to your body, not only physically, but what do you need emotionally, you know? Like why are you doing this? Really? A lot of the times we're looking to lose weight when it's not really the main goal. The main goal is that if I didn't have this weight, then I could run with my kids, get on the floor, go on a hike with my friends, etc. Do fit in my in the airplane seat, you know? Things that you want to do because it's the, I don't know, it's the quote unquote normal life, right? And so if you, I don't know, it's just that letting go of those extremes too. We fall into that again, where it's not about pushing ourselves to bleh. And I'm blanking. Woo! Let me
Okay.
let me
We
let it
love
go,
a good blank.
and let me let it go so I can come back.
That's it.
Let's move to the other question that I had for you.
Yeah,
Because as you were
perfect.
talking, you said that you decided to stop counting calories.
Yeah.
And that sounds to me, a lot of people use it as their control method because they want to control their food and they want to control their eating so they can control their weight. So I can see someone being very afraid to let go of that tool. And I'm wondering, how was your experience when you decided to let go of the tool? Did that idea rolled in your head ever before and you decided not to? Why not? And why this time it was a yes?
I love that question. I'm gonna give you the real brutal, honest answer
What do you
is
do?
I actually hated counting calories because it made me feel like a failure every time. Like it always felt like it was so constricting. I hated the quote unquote reality of seeing how much I was eating versus what the app was telling me to eat, which is also based on an algorithm that has no idea of my metabolism or my lifestyle. Like it is all, and like whenever I would try and be in that calorie deficit and hit the 1200 calorie thing, I'm like, man, no can do, no can do. And so yeah, I think that was really interesting to observe. And I honestly, I just let go of it because it made me feel like crap. And interestingly, when I was doing my postgrad in nutrition, one of our assignments was we had to do like a diet history, which is basically like a super thorough analysis of our own consumption. And so I had to
Oh,
count calories again, but like in an academic way. So not just like my fitness pal, but literally weigh the grammage of every single piece of food, use the formulas and the tools that are like approved by the National Health Administration here. Like it was like really fun for my inner nerd. But also like pretty triggering for someone who had that experience with counting calories. And so what I did, which is super cool, like, so the way I approached the assignment was I measured all the food and I kept track of it all and like how much I was eating, but then I didn't actually do the maths and like the analysis part of it until after I had finished tracking my intake, which meant that I had this, like, I think I had like 4 days of data of just how I ate. And because I was eating intuitively, like I was just listening to my body, you know, just kind of doing, not overeating. Of course, there's an element probably of unconscious adjustment when you're monitoring your food intake that does decrease it than usual because you're super aware of what you're putting in your mouth. And it's also like such a pain in the butt to track it. But anyway. The cool thing was that when I was then doing that assignment and I was doing all the nerd math on the food I was eating and the metabolism and all the things, I was in line with the recommendations intuitively without counting the calories. Like, so like I am eating, I know that as it stands today, if I'm intermittent fasting, it just means I consume that amount in a shorter time frame. If I'm not fasting, it's more spread out throughout the day. Do I consume more in the later luteal phase of my cycle and when I'm menstruating? Yes, because that's when my body is burning up more energy. I'm literally hotter, like from a temperature perspective and from a looks perspective. Okay. It's actually from an ovulation time, but anyways, like, and so by having that education and that awareness of listening to the body, and that comes after a lot of healing and trial and error, right? Which is why I love the work that you do. It's like you actually end up meeting their recommendations without even trying. And when I overeat, I know it because I can feel it in my body and the aftermath goes on in the bloating and all the things. So that's my question. I was tired of feeling like a failure and I was like, this isn't helpful. Like, I'm just going to let it go.
I'm gonna let it go. Okay. So what do you think was what do you think was the fear that tool was relieving? And did that fear go away, or did you just find another tool to satisfy it? Well, not satisfy, to relieve
That's
it.
a really great question. Honestly, like, I actually don't think I ever was the person that was like super attached to counting calories. So I don't think if anything, it like always felt like a burden. And it felt really heavy and really annoying. Like I would try and force myself to do it just because that's what I thought I quote unquote should be doing. So if anything, like letting go of it actually felt like an exhale. And it was probably like an element of letting go of hypervigilance and hypercontrol, which is a trauma response. So, yeah, it was, as I reflect back, and this was such a long time ago, so I'm having to really sit with this question. There wasn't a fear of letting the tool go. It was a fear of failing that I had to let go of. Yeah.
Fear of failing. Okay. Let's get into that for a little bit.
Yes.
So this is the thing. Like when you become someone that teaches or spreads the message on this type of things, a lot of people assume that you are now perfect. For example, for example, one of my careers was makeup artistry. So when people would find out that I was a makeup artist, they would say, "Oh, don't look at my brows, or don't look at my shadow." I know that they would start to batch themselves when I was not even, paying attention to that, unless it was really bad, and I would still not say anything. But or when people would find out that I'm a psychologist, oh, you must be reading my mind right now. I mean, you get the most interesting ideas when I'm like, no, I wasn't even paying attention.
I literally had the same thing happen like when I was doing my postgrad and I would sit and eat lunch with someone. They're like, oh, you're probably judging my lunch right now. I'm like, well, quietly, yes, but not really.
I mean, it takes mental energy, it takes time, it takes attention to do those tasks. And when you're in your normal day life, you are not doing that. But most of the time it's just this idea that now you are this perfect person that doesn't fall into those beliefs and mindsets and behaviors.
Yeah.
In reality, we do fall into those mindsets. I still binge. I still emotionally eat. I still land on, I don't know, behaviors that are not the most healthy for myself. But I now have the tools to not fall in so deep and get myself out of there. So the recovery becomes much faster. Again, the balance is hit much more times, much more often, right? So now I'm going to ask you about this black and white mentality, or this overachieving mind, type A personality. How do you find that you have managed to find that balance, I guess?
With food specifically?
With food, but also just in life in general, if you want to expand a little.
Yeah, I do want to expand a lot, a lot. I'll start with food and then I'll expand kind of beyond. So, with food, as soon as we ended earlier on that fear of failure, what immediately popped into my mind was trust. And unfortunately, especially today in 2026, so many of us, perhaps even your listener right now, has lost trust in themselves. We are outsourcing our decisions to people in a position of authority, whether it's someone in a white lab coat, whether it's a police officer, whether it's a boss, a leader, a coach, an influencer.
An influencer, yeah.
Whatever, AI. Like, we're always looking for external validation. And yet the truth is, like, it's all within you. You already know, but there's an element of really truly trusting yourself. And so specifically to food, when I let go of that hyper control and kind of over planning, it was just trusting myself, trusting my body, trusting that I know when enough is enough. And then in the moments where I revert to some old and effective habits, just noticing that and acknowledging that and not shaming myself for it. And now to zoom out into the bigger picture and kind of like how I have been able to achieve more balance in my life. Like, am I perfect? No way. And I will say that honestly, like, again, this is the hill that I will die on. It's the planning, the organization, and like working with my body and those cycles that has been an absolute game changer, because simply by following this philosophy, you naturally honor the balance. You naturally honor the rhythms. And when my type A achiever self tends to be a little bit overactive, which, like, at the time of the recording, it is July. I have just come out of a really busy season in June, and I reverted to some really ineffective old habits, like working late, pushing through because there was a lot going on. And that's where I think it is so important that you have a coach or a loving friend or a partner who can hold up a mirror to you and because we can't see blind spots. Like, this is the thing, like, they're called blind spots for a reason. And like, the same day, actually, when we had that breakthrough coaching conversation last week, I actually also ended up having like a really difficult, challenging conversation. It was not challenging in the way of like that it blew up or anything. It was just like kind of hard to look at because it was a black mirror with my partner, who was reflecting how the way I've been working wasn't working recently. And it's sort of like, here I am on this forefront, similar to what you just said, like preaching, this is how to do things, blah, blah, blah. But because I got so hyper focused and immediately reverted back to my old ways, I was being a hypocrite, which, like, integrity is my number one value. And like, that really hurt. Like, that was so hard to process. And I think that's really the secret to finding that balance, is realizing that, to what you said earlier, you never arrive there as a static point. It is a pendulum that's going to swing, and life's going to keep on lifing. And these habits that you have had for years, maybe even decades, maybe even lifetimes in your lineage are going to take a bit of trial and error to refine. And so when inevitably you fall out of balance, wherever it is, whether it's in your food, whether it's in your work, whether it's in your workout routine, whether it's in how you're showing up in your relationships, rather than shaming and just letting that spiral, like, whoop, okay, that just happened. I'm acknowledging it. I'm going to reflect on it, and I'm going to choose to act differently. And that's, I think that's the secret, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just awareness, awareness, awareness. It all comes back to awareness.
Easier said than done, but definitely doable. Yeah, and one thing that popped into my mind as you were talking about that you need this someone um, to reflect back to you what you're doing can sound a bit contradictory with, oh, you're following someone else's opinion, whether they're in a white coat or they're an influencer. It can sound contradictory, but what the difference is in my world is that teaching you how to make your own decisions is different than telling you what to do. So what you want to look for in a leader, a guide, a coach, a mentor, it's that someone that teaches you how to do the thing, how to think about it, how to change, instead of just giving you the step-by-step piece of what to do without understanding why you're doing it. And that's where it is. It's like, it's not about not listening to someone else. It's about understanding how to make your own choices that are good for yourself, because you ultimately know what you feel and what you think and what's better for you. Nobody else can tell you what you feel. I can tell you 1,000 times that eggs is the most nutritious food and this is the best breakfast you'll ever have. Yes, but if you're allergic to eggs, that is not right information. That is not right for you.
Yes.
So I will definitely, I don't want people to, I mean, if they want to follow me forever, okay, I'm not going to push you away, but I don't want people in my world forever. I want them in my world, but in a different way, not just as a student to learn how to do it. And then let's convene in a different level where now you are doing your own thing. And that is actually one of the steps that I have in my program. Like at the end is now you get to be an inspiration. Not because you're preaching to everyone what they should do, but because they see your results, and they see what you're doing, and they want to do it as well. And that's very motivating. So I think that's part of why I keep doing this. Victoria, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think is important to put out there?
Yeah. What came up for me is what you just shared around sort of the what to do, how to do, having your right person show you how to do it. And you've just articulated it so well with this example of eggs, is the notion of bioindividuality. And I am so grateful that I learned this early on in my coaching career, with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is that philosophy of like one woman's food is going to be another woman's poison. We are all unique, different snowflakes. Okay. We are all special. We all have our own ways. And whether that's in food, whether that's in movement, whether that's in your style, whether that's in your work, whether it's in how you plan, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are unique. And so these systems or steps or tools that people like Lizzie, people like myself, people like anyone else who you might choose to work with, treat them as direction, as a compass. But what's important is that you are still the one holding the compass, which is what I love about how you work with your clients, Liz, and like also how this is the value that I put into my work. This is how most people that I work with myself as a student also, like, I demand that from my coaches, is that they then tailor their coaching, their feedback to you. It's like, hey, look, yeah, this is what I've done. This is what's worked for me, but it's all about context. It's like, how can you apply this into your life? What do we need to change so that it fits into your specific circumstances? Because someone who's a carnivore is going to have really different nutritional needs than someone who is a vegan, than someone who is hypoallergic to a whole bunch of gluten and nuts. Like, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So I think the last thing that I wanted to leave everyone with is that honor your individuality. It's actually what makes you unique and special. And it's hard out there right now. Like, I know it might feel like you're on your own and no one gets you. And it's like, is there something wrong with me? And the truth is, no, like, you're just different because we're all different. And so the more you can find way showers and supporters who can help you along your journey and help make the path a little bit more easy, a little bit more fun, a little bit less struggle town and more partyville, the more sustainable your transformation becomes. So that's my finishing parting words.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Victoria. Tell us a little bit of who you work with and how we can find you. If you have anything going on,
I have
please
lots
share.
going on. Absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, I work with like really ambitious, high achieving, mostly women, but I also have a few men in my community. So again, no matter what gender you identify with, you are welcome. We are an inclusive bunch. And so if you are a high achiever, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're employed in corporate, you're parenting, you're doing all the things, those are my people. It's sort of the people who are super busy, don't have enough time to get everything done. And so what I help you with is I help you get the proven planning system that not just 10x's your results, but it helps you get that time back and boost your energy, which is kind of what we spoke about before around the nonlinear productivity paradigm. Because we don't just want to work and tick boxes for the sake of ticking boxes. Like, we want to get that stuff done so that you can actually get back to doing the things that you love with whom you love and finally live a life again. Like, that's what I'm here for. So if you're here for it too, you can find me lots of places. I also have a podcast, which actually Lizzie is going to be featured on very soon. It's called Resonance with Viktoria Levenberg. So we're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple. I'll send you all the links. You can pop in the show notes if you want. And then you can find me on socials at Viktoria Levenberg. It's Victoria with a K, okay? Because I'm a special snowflake too. I like to be different. And it's because of my Soviet heritage. But anyways, so Viktoria Levenberg, I'm on all the socials, but I'm most active on Instagram. And otherwise, if you head to my website, victorialevenberg.com, you can kind of always find my latest little nifty gifties that I have for you and little updates, because there's a lot in this space, and it's an ever evolving world, you know, especially with the rise of AI. And like right now myself, I'm trying to figure out like, how do I integrate this into my work with my students and my clients. So yeah, best way to connect is probably through the podcast and through Instagram.
Perfect. We'll definitely put the show notes, and we'll put the links on the show notes. That way people
The
can
show notes and the links.
People can just click and get to you. Victoria, thank you so much for today. This has been very pleasant. And I guess I will see you next, I don't know, I'm about to see you soon, next month, right?
I'm going to see you next month, and we're going to jam it again.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, those of you who've been listening. It's been an absolute privilege to share my story with you. It's been quite vulnerable to share. So thank you for being here. And you've got this. Remember, you're a snowflake, and that's amazing.
Oh, thank you, Victoria. Hey, before you go, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this episode brought you tons of value. And if you're ready to finally ditch jumping in and out of restrictive diets, I highly recommend starting by setting yourself up for success by upgrading your food environment. You know that thing that whispers at your unconscious what to eat? When you upgrade your food environment, you're not only helping yourself make better food decisions, but you're making it super easy for your unconscious to naturally move you in the right direction to your health goals. so that you can have the body that lets you do the things that make life worth living. This is why I'm hosting a 2-day workshop on August 1st to tell you exactly how you can upgrade your food environment. I'm calling it the Kitchen Detox Workshop. To save your spot, all you have to do is go to www.lizziehabits.com/workshop. And this is actually a service that I offer to my clients on a one-on-one setting, and that is an over $400 event. But because this is the first time I'm bringing it to you in a group setting and I only have a limited amount of seats, the investment is only $37. So please go right now and save your spot to www.lizziehabits.com/workshop. And I'll also leave the link down on the show notes. That way you can just click on it and get there. All right, I'll see you next time.